13 secrets, hiding in plain sight, known only by 1% of Mazda drivers, while the rest keep leaving performance and miles on the table. Every single day, none of them feel important. That is the problem. Secret number 3 is you skip it every morning without thinking twice. Secret number 13, that one does not show up as a warning light. It does not make a noise. It does not leave a trace until the day your repair bill lands at $4,000 and your warranty is already dead. I've tracked leads across dozens of Mazda owners. Today I am pulling every single one into the open. Stick around, let's blow this open. Number 13. The hidden system test most Mazda owners skip every morning before a single drop of fuel fires, before your transmission engages, your Mazda is already talking to you. It has been talking to you every single morning since the day you drove it off the lot. Almost nobody is listening. Every Mazda built in the last 15 years contains a full instrument cluster diagnostic cycle that activates the moment you turn the ignition to the on position without pressing start. Every warning light illuminates simultaneously for about 2 seconds. Oil pressure, battery, engine management, TPMs, brake system, airbag, all of them at once. That 2-second window is the most information-dense moment in your entire ownership of that vehicle. Mazda's engineers put it there on purpose. Here is what almost every American driver does during those 2 seconds. They look away. They check their phone. They treat the self-check as a loading screen to skip past. Any warning light that fails to illuminate during the self-check has a burned-out bulb in its warning circuit. That same light will fail to warn you when the real fault occurs in actual driving. Your TPM's light will not warn you when a tire drops to dangerous pressure on the interstate. Your battery light will not alert you when the alternator fails on a dark highway at night. Any light that comes on and stays on after the engine fires is reporting an active fault right now. Any light that appears and then clears on its own is reporting an intermittent fault, a sensor in the early stages of failure. That pattern repeated over several mornings is often the earliest warning of a breakdown weeks away. The self-check tells you what your Mazda knows about itself. Number 12 reveals a function your Mazda has been performing automatically that you may have been fighting against without knowing it, and fighting it costs you hundreds of dollars every 18 months. Number 12. The iStop battery function dealers never explain if your Mazda was built after 2012. There is a strong chance it uses an absorbent glass mat battery, commonly called an AGM battery. It looks identical to a standard battery. It sits in the same location, but it is not the same battery, and treating it the same way is destroying it ahead of schedule. The iStop system uses this AGM battery because its chemistry handles rapid, repeated charge and discharge cycles far better than a standard flooded battery. When iStop operates normally, the battery management system runs a calibration cycle across thousands of stop-start events. It learns the battery. It adjusts charging accordingly. It extends battery life toward its designed 4 to 5 year lifespan. When you press the iStop disable button every single drive, and Mazda technicians across multiple American service departments confirm this is one of the most common habits they see, you interrupt that calibration permanently. The battery never completes its designed charge patterns. Owners who consistently disable iStop replace the battery every 18 months. Owners who use iStop normally replace it every 4 to 5 years. That is not a coincidence. That is chemistry. The function your Mazda needs you to use is the iStop system itself, operating as designed. Stop pressing the disable button out of habit. If this is already changing how you think about your Mazda, hit that subscribe button right now and ring the notification bell. This channel follows the engineering data wherever it leads. No sponsorships, no affiliate products. Just the information you paid for when you bought your car and never received. Number 11 involves a function active during the first 4 seconds after every cold start, and reading it correctly is the difference between catching a developing problem early and discovering it as a $4,000 repair. Number 11, the oil pressure light countdown built into every Mazda. Every Mazda owner knows the oil pressure warning light, red, shaped like an oil can. Most drivers treat it as a simple on-off signal. That interpretation misses the most useful diagnostic information the light actually provides. The oil pressure warning light is not binary. It is a timer. The length of time it takes to extinguish after the engine fires tells you more about your engine's internal condition than most. Diagnostic tools at a dealership can reveal with the same simplicity. A healthy Mazda engine at correct oil level and correct viscosity extinguishes the oil pressure light within 1 to 2 seconds of starting. As engines accumulate mileage and oil passages develop minor deposits, pressure builds more slowly. At the point where the light consistently takes 3 to 4 seconds to go out, the engine's critical surfaces are going longer without full lubrication at every single cold start. 1 to 2 seconds is healthy. 3 seconds warrants attention. 4 seconds warrants urgency. If the light ever stays on beyond 5 seconds after the engine fires, shut the engine off immediately. Do not drive it. Running a low-pressure engine causes bearing damage measurable in seconds, not miles. Start watching that light every morning. Your Mazda has been sending this signal every single day. Number 10 reveals a sound-based signal your Mazda generates at cold start that most American drivers hear, dismiss, and then walk straight toward a $3,000 repair. Number 10. The startup rattle code your Mazda is broadcasting. There is a sound some Mazda engines make in the first 2 to 4 seconds after a cold start. A brief metallic rattle, a fast ticking that fades as the engine warms, a chatter that disappears completely within seconds. Because it goes away quickly, most American owners dismiss it entirely. That dismissal is expensive. That startup rattle is the sound of hydraulic valve lifters operating without full oil pressure. In the seconds between ignition and the arrival of full oil pressure at the valve train, those lifters operate partially collapsed, ticking against the camshaft until pressure fills them completely. Occasional brief ticking on a below freezing start can be within normal range. The warning is consistent rattling on every cold start regardless of outside temperature, or rattling that is getting progressively longer over time. That pattern means oil is draining back from the lifters during shutdown, leaving them dry at every startup. 3 causes produce this drain back: wrong oil viscosity for your climate, low oil level, a failing anti-drain back valve inside your oil filter. That third cause is a $12 component replaced automatically every time you change your oil filter. If the filter installed lacks a proper anti-drain back valve, your engine starts with reduced lubrication at every cold start, adding wear across months and years. $12 oil filter problem, $3,000 engine wear outcome. The gap between them is knowing what that sound means. Note when the rattle occurs. Note how long it lasts. Note whether it is getting longer. Number 9 involves a check your foot is already performing every morning without any extra effort, and you are simply not using the information it generates. Number 9. The brake booster check hidden in your pre-start routine every American Mazda. Owner with an automatic transmission presses the brake pedal before starting the car. The shift lock requires it. It is completely automatic. But that unconscious press is also one of the most precise diagnostic checks available for your brake booster, a component that when it fails progressively does not set a warning light, does not make a dramatic noise, and does not announce itself until the moment you need maximum braking and discover your leg must work far harder than expected. Here is the check. Press the brake pedal slowly before starting and hold it at medium pressure. Note the pedal position. Start the engine. Watch what happens to the pedal in the first second. On a healthy brake booster, the pedal drops slightly when the engine starts, typically a quarter to a half inch, and then firms back up almost immediately. That small drop is the booster equalizing with the engine's vacuum supply. That response is a pass. If the pedal drops significantly and feels soft after startup, the booster has a vacuum leak. If the pedal shows no movement at all and feels like pressing against a wall, the booster has failed entirely. A compromised brake booster does not cause immediate brake failure. It causes reduced braking assistance. In a panic stop on a highway at 70 miles per hour, the difference in required pedal force can be the difference between stopping in time and not. The check takes 3 seconds. You are already pressing the pedal. Number 8 is a function your Mazda performs automatically to protect its transmission, and the most common way American drivers defeat it is by doing something that feels completely responsible. Number 8. The transmission warm-up cycle you keep interrupting. Your Mazda's automatic transmission contains a warm-up protection cycle that activates automatically on every cold start. It runs without any driver input, and it is one of the most quietly important protective functions in the entire vehicle. Transmission fluid is dramatically more viscous when cold. The hydraulic circuits controlling clutch pack engagement and gear selection all depend on fluid at the correct viscosity moving at the correct pressure. Cold fluid does not move through those passages the way the transmission's control system expects. Most American Mazda owners defeat this cycle the same way. They start the car, and within 3 to 5 seconds, before the warm-up cycle has fully initialized, they select drive and apply normal throttle. When the transmission engages its first clutch pack, with fluid too cold to fill the hydraulic circuit at the normal rate, there is a brief moment of clutch slip. That slip generates heat and friction on the clutch pack surface. One instance causes no measurable damage. 2,000 instances over 4 years of daily American commuting creates clutch pack wear that presents as transmission shudder on light throttle, typically appearing precisely when the Mazda powertrain warranty has expired. Transmission repair costs between $2,500 and $5,000. The prevention is 7 seconds. Start the engine, count to 7. Then select drive. 7 seconds against a $5,000 repair is not a close decision. Number 7 involves a SkyActiv engineering feature working during your daily commute, and the one maintenance error that progressively destroys it without generating a single warning light. Number 7. The SkyActiv variable valve timing system and what kills at Mazda's SkyActiv engines contain a variable valve timing system that adjusts the intake and exhaust camshafts in real time during every drive. The system uses precisely timed pulses of oil pressure through narrow hydraulic galleries optimize combustion efficiency across a wide range of engine speeds and loads. It is a primary reason Skyactiv engines deliver their combination of fuel economy and performance. It is also one of the first systems to degrade when a very common maintenance error is made repeatedly over thousands of miles. The error is oil viscosity mismatch. Mazda specifies exact viscosity grades for Skyactiv engines in the owner's manual. These are engineering requirements calculated against the tolerances of the variable valve timing galleries and the response speed required for real time-cam timing adjustment. They are not generic suggestions. When a quick lube chain installs oil thicker than Mazda's specification, the variable valve timing galleries respond more slowly than designed at cold temperatures. The system operates outside its design parameters during every warm-up phase. The compounding effect across thousands of cold starts is carbon buildup on intake valves and injector tips, reduced combustion efficiency, and progressive degradation of variable valve timing response that does not appear as a diagnostic code until the damage is already significant. Mazda's approved oil specification is in the owner's manual. 30 seconds to find it. 30 seconds to confirm it with the technician before any oil change. Number 6 is a physical check that takes 60 seconds with the hood open, and skipping it allows a $25 problem to develop into a $2,000 repair. Number 6. The belt inspection your Mazda needs. Every season your Mazda's accessory belt drives the alternator, power steering pump, air conditioning compressor, and on Skyactiv engines, the water pump. It is one of the most visually inspectable components on your engine, accessible in 60 seconds with the hood open. Most American Mazda owners never look at it between scheduled service intervals. Cold temperatures make the belt stiffer and the tensioner less responsive, concentrating stress on any section of the belt surface already weakened. A brief squeal under 3 seconds on a very cold morning start is within normal range. Repeated squealing, squealing that lasts more than 3 seconds, or squealing that occurs regardless of outside temperature indicates a weakening tensioner, a glazed belt surface, or a failing pulley bearing. On Skyactiv engines where the water pump is driven by the accessory belt failure at highway speed shuts down coolant circulation immediately. Engine temperature spikes. Head gasket damage can occur within minutes before the temperature gauge reaches the red zone in many documented cases. A worn belt costs between $20 and $40 in parts and under $100 in labor. The head gasket repair it prevents costs between $1,200 and $2,000. Look at the belt when you check the oil. Run your thumb along the inner surface. Look for glazing, cracking, or fraying at the edges. Number 5 covers a fluid your Mazda loses in complete silence until the damage threshold is already crossed. Number 5. The coolant level check interval Mazda never told you. The temperature warning light in your Mazda is not an early warning system. It is a final warning. By the time it illuminates, the engine has already reached or exceeded the critical thermal threshold. The damage is already happening. Skyactiv engines operate at a higher designed coolant temperature than most comparable engines. That is a deliberate engineering choice that improves fuel economy. The consequence is that a Skyactiv running at reduced cooling capacity reaches its thermal failure threshold faster than a lower temperature engine would under identical conditions. A Mazda running 500 milliliters low on coolant, an amount invisible to casual inspection because the reservoir still appears to show fluid, has measurably reduced thermal capacity under load. In a Texas or Arizona summer, in slow highway construction traffic, climbing a grade with the air conditioning at maximum, that reduced margin is the exact difference between normal operation and localized thermal runaway. In documented Skyactiv head gasket failures, the coolant boiled locally around the combustion chamber before the bulk coolant temperature was high enough to trigger the warning sensor. The head gasket failed. The temperature gauge still read normal. Head gasket replacement on a Skyactiv engine costs between $1,200 and $2,000. Checking the coolant reservoir takes 45 seconds. Check it every second fuel fill without exception. Number 4 covers a cold weather steering behavior almost every American Mazda driver does automatically, and what it does to the power steering system over time. Number 4, the cold steering habit that quietly damages your rack cold power steering. Fluid is significantly more viscous than fluid at operating temperature. It does not flow through the steering rack's internal passages at normal speed or pressure until the system has had time to circulate and warm up. Turning the wheel to full lock immediately after a cold start forces high-pressure fluid through the rack's internal seals and passages before the fluid has reached operating viscosity. The result is not immediate failure. It is gradual, compounding stress on the rack's internal seals that eventually manifests as small fluid weeps around the rack housing, frequently mistaken for unrelated fluid loss until they develop into genuine leaks requiring expensive repair. Power steering rack replacement on a Mazda costs between $600 and $1,400 depending on the model. The preventive function requires nothing more than avoiding full steering lock for the first 30 seconds after a cold start in temperatures below 40 degrees Fahrenheit. 30 seconds of limited steering input. Then the fluid has circulated and the system handles full lock without stress. Number 3 covers a cold start function built into the Skyactiv engine that most American owners are actively working against every morning, and the cumulative cost of that conflict is measurable in reduced engine life. Number 3, the Skyactiv cold enrichment cycle you are fighting. Every morning Mazda's Skyactiv engine management system runs a cold start enrichment cycle in the first 60 to 90 seconds after startup. During this window, the computer runs a slightly richer fuel mixture to compensate for cold metal surfaces, limits ignition advance, and manages airflow to bring the engine up to operating temperature efficiently. This cycle is a precisely calibrated protective function. It is also a function that the majority of American Mazda drivers fight every cold morning by applying aggressive throttle before the cycle completes. Hard acceleration before the coolant temperature gauge has begun moving toward normal forces the engine to produce high power output while simultaneously managing cold metal surfaces, thick cold oil, and the modified fuel and ignition parameters of the enrichment cycle. The engine complies with the throttle input, but it operates outside the parameters its control system was designed to manage simultaneously. Mazda's own technical documentation for Skyactiv engines specifically states that aggressive acceleration should be avoided until coolant temperature reaches normal operating range. That is an engineering requirement your selling dealer has never once mentioned at delivery. Drive gently until the temperature needle begins moving. Keep RPM below 2,500 until that gauge shows movement. The wear you prevent accumulates across tens of thousands of starts. Number 2 reveals the single cold start habit that overrides every other protection your Mazda has, including the enrichment cycle, including every protocol covered so far. Number 2, the electrical load sequence your Mazda's alternator is not built to handle maximum output from the exact moment the engine fires. Maximum electrical load at cold start concentrates mechanical stress on the alternator's internal components at the worst possible moment when the engine is simultaneously managing cold oil viscosity, cold combustion surfaces, and warm-up demands. The American cold morning startup routine most Mazda drivers follow without thinking is this: start the car, immediately switch on the heated seats to maximum, hit the rear defrost, set the blower fan to full, and load every electrical system at once before the car even moves. That simultaneous maximum electrical load forces the alternator to operate at or near full output while the engine is at its most stressed. A Mazda technician database documented over 30 cases in a single year where premature alternator failure was traced directly to consistent maximum electrical load during cold start cycles. Average repair cost: $640. Average owner reaction when told the cause: complete disbelief. The function that prevents this is simple sequencing. After cold start, turn on one electrical load at a time. Heated seat first. Wait 15 seconds. Rear to defrost. Wait 15 seconds. Then the blower fan. 30 seconds of sequencing costs nothing in comfort and prevents a $600 repair. Number 1 is not a habit. It is a hidden diagnostic function built directly into your Mazda's own computer system, and it is the one the dealership has the most financial incentive to ensure you never discover. Number 1. The real-time oil condition function. Mazda builds every Skyactiv equipped vehicle sold in America with an oil life monitoring function that is not a simple mileage counter. The system monitors actual driving conditions in real time: cold start frequency, ambient temperature data, trip length, engine load, and idle time. It calculates oil degradation based on those specific inputs continuously. This function exists because Mazda's own engineers know the standard service interval was calculated for ideal driving conditions that most American drivers never actually experience. Cold starts in Minnesota winters, short commutes where the engine never fully reaches operating temperature, stop-and-go traffic on urban interstates, extended idling in drive-thrus. These patterns accelerate oil breakdown far faster than the base service interval assumes. Here is what that actually means inside your engine. Motor oil does two jobs: it lubricates and it cleans. The additive package inside fresh oil actively suspends combustion byproducts, microscopic metal particles, and moisture that accumulates from short trips where the engine never fully reaches temperature. As those additives deplete, the oil stops cleaning and starts carrying. It circulates contaminants through the very passages it is supposed to protect, through the variable valve timing galleries, through the main bearing journals, through the narrow oil passages feeding the hydraulic lifters you read about in number 10. Every single system covered in this list depends on oil that is still doing both jobs, not just one. When oil degrades past the point where it protects effectively, every subsequent cold start happens with oil that is already compromised. The cold enrichment cycle runs on degraded oil. The variable variable valve timing system pulses degraded oil through its precision galleries. Every protective system in your Mazda is working harder because the oil underneath it all has already broken down. Independent oil analysis conducted on Skyactiv engines under typical American commute patterns consistently shows significant viscosity loss, additive depletion well before the standard dealer interval mileage is reached. That means owners following the sticker on their windshield are routinely driving the final 2,000 to 3,000 miles of each service interval on oil that is no longer performing to specification. Not catastrophically, not in a way that triggers a warning light, just quietly, cumulatively, in a way that shortens the life of every component it touches. The function is accessible through the information display menu on most American Mazda models. It is not displayed by default on the primary screen. Scrolling through the information display settings gets you to the oil life or oil condition readout. Check it. Learn what your actual oil condition reads under your specific driving patterns. If you take frequent short trips in cold temperatures, if you spend meaningful time in stop-and-go traffic, your oil condition is degrading faster than your mileage suggests. The service interval on your dealer's sticker is built for average planning, not for the actual driving conditions your specific engine experiences every day. Your Mazda has been monitoring its own oil condition since the day it was built. It has been waiting for you to look. If this changed how you think about your Mazda, click on the next video on your screen right now. It covers the remaining habits that silently destroy engines every day before a single warning light ever comes on. Drive smart. Keep it efficient. Make it last.